Okay, guys, here we go. We are on the Unit 3 test review. So here we go. There are 15 pieces of fruit in a bowl, and 6 of them are apples. What percent of the pieces of fruit in the bowl are apples? All right, let's go ahead and set up our ratio table so we can figure it out. So here we go. We're setting up the part. Remember the left side, or we always are comparing the part to the whole amount. Okay, so the whole amount, it's hard to write with the mouse, but here it is. Okay, so it says there are 15 pieces of fruit in the bowl. So there's 15 total pieces. 6 of them are apples. So we have 6 out of 15. And then I scaled down just to make it easier. I know that a 3 goes into both 6 and 15. 3 goes into 6 twice. 3 goes into 15 5 times. So here's our ratio that we can work with that's even easier. And of course, if we're dealing with percent, we always have to get to what number? 100. All right, so I can do 15 times something to get 100. So, but it's not going to be real easy because there's going to be a decimal, right? But since I scaled this, I can get from 5 to 100 by multiplying by 20. 2 times 20 is 40. So therefore, our answer is 40% of them are apples. Just that easy. All right, number 2. Select all of the trips that would take 2 hours. All right, A is drive 60 miles per hour. Okay, 60 miles each hour between Buffalo and Seneca Falls, which are 120 miles. Well, is that 2 hours exactly? If we're going 60 miles in 1 hour, how far would we go in 2 hours? All right, let's look at B. Walk 3 miles per hour to school, which is 1.5 miles away. All right, so if you walk 1.5 miles to school, and you're walking 3 miles an hour, will that take you 2 hours to get there? And then, oops, and then C, it says take a train going 80 miles per hour from Albany to New York City, which are 160 miles apart. So if you're going 80 miles in 1 hour, how long is it going to take you to go 160 miles? So which ones of these are going to take 2 hours exactly? Okay, so let's look at A. If we drive 60 miles per hour, in 2 hours, we will go 120 miles in 2 hours. So is that exactly 2 hours for that one? Yeah, obviously, yes. B, walk 3 miles per hour to school. Well, if you're going to do 2 hours, that's 3 times 2, which is 6. That's a lot more than 1.5, so B is no good. And then C, take a train going 80 miles per hour from Albany to New York City. So 80 times 2 equals 160. Yep, that one will always be 2 hours as well. Okay, number 3. Lynn's family has completed 70% of a trip. They have traveled 35 miles. How far is the trip? All right, well, let's set up our table. It makes it really, really easy when we have the percent because that's always out of 100. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Right, we have now set up our ratio part over whole. So 70% is obviously 70 out of every 100. That's all you have to do for the top of that. And then it says they have traveled 35 miles. How far is the entire trip? Okay, so how far is the trip? All right, so 70% is that. So we have a 100% is that. So they've gone 35. So how do we get from 70 down to 35? Well, we divide by 2. Okay, so if that's the case, then we have to do 100 divided by 2, which is 50. All right, so if 35% is 50, okay, how far is the trip? The answer is 50 miles. So if 70% of the trip is 35 miles, then the rest of the trip will be another 25 miles, right? Which would give you a total of 50 miles. Actually, a correction on that. It's not going to be another 25 miles. It's just going to be another 15 miles, which will be 30% of the trip left. And that'll give you the total of 50. Okay, number 4, it says Lynn runs 5 laps around the track in 6 minutes. How many minutes per lap is that? So 5 laps, 6 minutes. So if she did 5 laps in 5 minutes, that'd be a minute per lap. So it's going to be a little bit over that. So let's figure out what we got. Okay, so we have 5 laps in 6 minutes. So if we want to know how much it is per 1 lap, we just have to divide by 5. Okay, so we're going to do 5 divided by 5, which is 1. 6 divided by 5 is 1.2. So 1.2 or 1 minute and 12 seconds would be the actual answer for that one. So 1.2 minutes per lap. So that's all you have to do is get it down to its unit rate for that one. All right, so section B on this, it says how many laps per minute. So instead of how many minutes per lap, we're kind of switching it up. So how many laps is she going to get done in 1 minute? Let's go ahead and figure that one out. Okay, so we set up again 5 laps for every 6 minute. So once we know, now that we want to know it per 1 minute, we do 6 divided by 6 is 1. So get that down to the minute. Obviously, you do 5 divided by 6, which would be 5/6, or 5/6 of a lap, okay, per minute. Or if you do 5 divided by 6 and make it into a decimal, it's 0.83 as a repeating decimal. So 0.83333 per 1 minute. So those are your answers. Either one of those would be a very good answer to that question. So now with this question, we use our previous information to answer this one. If Lynn runs 21 laps at the same rate, how long does it take her? So let's go ahead and write out that equation. Okay, so if Lynn runs 21 laps at the same rate, well, the rate was 1.2, because we answered that a couple of questions back, 1.2 minutes per lap. So all you have to do is take the number of laps, 21, times 1.2, which is the number or the amount of time per lap, and you're going to end up with 25.2 minutes to run 21 laps on the track. All right, there you go. Okay, so this is probably going to be the easiest one for us here. It says a ship captain is mapping a trip that wants to know the distance the ship will travel over certain time intervals. All right, well, they already did the ratio table for us, which is nice. So a half an hour, it will travel 12.5 miles. In 1 hour, it travels 25 miles. In 1.5 hours, it travels 37.5 miles. Great. It says, assuming that the ship travels at a constant speed, what is the speed? Well, guys, this is the easiest one yet. Okay, hopefully I can get the text box big enough. Speed is always based on something per hour. So basically, the answer is going to be 25 miles per 1 hour. Okay, so that would be our answer for that one. And that's all there is to that number 5. All right, number 6. Which weighs more? A watermelon that weighs 7.5 kilograms or a baby that weighs 12 pounds? Explain your reasoning. And then they gave us this. 1 pound is approximately 0.45 kilograms. Okay, well, let's figure it out. Okay, so we set up our ratio again. So 1 pound is the same as 0.45 kilograms. So to find out from 1 to 12, that's times 12, right? So then you're going to do the same thing with 0.45. Okay, so 0.45 times 12 is 5.4 kilograms. Okay, so that's kind of giving us a little more information, but let's just keep on going. And then we'll come right back and work on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and look now at the weight of the 7.5 kilogram watermelon. Okay, so to get from 0.45 to 7.5, I took 7.5 divided by 0.45, and that gave us 16.6 with the decimal repeating, which means if you take 1 times 16.6 with decimal repeating, you will get 16.6 with decimal repeating. So basically at this point, can we decide what weighs more? Well, of course, the watermelon weighs more because we can see that if you're comparing the 7.5 kilograms of the watermelon, or of the watermelon, the baby would have to be 16.6 pounds to be equal to that. So obviously the watermelon is going to weigh more than the baby. All right, this is number 7 and the last question on the review. It says Elena and Jada are 12 miles apart on a path when they start moving towards each other. Elena runs at a constant speed of 5 miles per hour, and Jada walks at a constant speed of 3 miles per hour. How long does it take Elena and Jada to meet? Okay, well, basically we can kind of look at this and say, well, they're 12 miles apart. One's going 5 miles an hour, one's going 3 miles an hour, and so they're coming towards each other. So you're going to have to combine how fast they're going, right? So 5 plus 3 is 8. So they're basically going 8 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and utilize that information and figure out what the answer would be. Okay, so we've already discussed about the fact that they're going 8 miles an hour combined. So they're trying to cover 12 miles going 8 miles an hour. Okay, so I'm trying to do this without any calculations. So I'm going to divide 8 in half and get 4. I'm going to divide 1 in half and get a half, or 0.5. Okay, so then I need to get to 12 miles. So let's see what we would get. We can't really do 12 to 8 real easily. I mean, we kind of can, but not just without any decimals. Although I do like a decimal if as long as it's a half. So what do we need to get from 4 to 5 or 4 to 12? Sorry, 4 times 3 is 12. So if you have a half, and a half, well, 2 halves is 1 plus another half would be a half. So it ends up being 1.5. So basically, if we were to utilize this, and we didn't even have to use a calculator with this, is that if they're going 8 miles an hour on a 12-mile path, okay, then they're going to meet in 1.5 hours. That's all you really had to do for that one. So at this point, if you have any questions or if you need to review anything, since this is a video, you can go back and check any of your answers and see what you did, and that'll get you completely prepared for the future assessment coming up very quickly. Good luck.